Hey, how's it going, guys? I guess this is going to be a somewhat of a different video, somewhat, but I feel the need to make this because I don't know, I just have a need to do it. I did it for Tim Duncan, so I might as well do it for this, for obviously my favorite athlete ever. Because usually I post about Dragon Ball, but obviously like this is a different type of video. But I have a need to make this because if you don't know, uh. my favorite player, Manu Ginobili, he retired today, and I'm sad now. But when I first heard it, right, it was the feeling that I had was one of I knew it was coming. Like I knew it was coming ever since, because to be honest, the guy was 40, so I knew he wasn't going to play in 41. Like unless he was like Vince Carter, who's who had just has, or unless he was Dirk, who had like who had height, or he was so unless he was like Dirk, who had height, or unless he was like, and so he can get his shot off at any point, right, like LaMarcus, or unless he was like Vince, who was like athletic enough that he can keep playing at that age. I knew that he probably wasn't going to play after this season. So I the start of me accepting that we're going to have an NBA without Manu anymore was started when Kawhi was ruled out, for the Golden State playoff series, because I just knew at that point that um, if we don't have Kawhi, there's no chance we have to beat this team. So since then, I've been hoping that he would come back and do a lot of things, maybe prove me wrong, but kind of always knew that the writing was on the wall that he was going to retire. And honestly, I think I'm just making this video just to sort of like express my feelings and thoughts on it, obviously, but I also want to I just want to celebrate the dude, not only the dude's career, but just like what he's, even more than like a basketball player, like what he meant like as a teammate and what it means for me personally. So like this is a channel where I talk about Dragon Ball a lot, right? And obviously Dragon Ball, at least for me, when it comes to like fandoms, like what I like to do in my free time, like whatever, it takes up a big part of that. I'm a very big believer that when you look at a person's like quote unquote hobbies, or like what they like, I feel like those things and how they use their free time in pursuing those fandoms or whatever, I feel like it reveals stuff about their character. Um, and not necessarily like oh, this is like a good part of the character, or oh, it's a bad part of their character. More so like I feel like it reveals like parts about like their personality, right? And I think for me, Dragon Ball is obviously like that, but basketball in general arguably is as big a constant in my life as Dragon Ball. And I don't even know if constant is the right word, but it's a big fandom of mine. It's a very big hobby of mine. It's something that I truly passionate about, right? So much so that I had the opportunity to play in school, and I got into basketball because of Manu. Manu and Tim. Those were my two favorite players. And yes, I like Tony. I'm not excluding him, but the point is, out of everything that I've enjoyed in so far in 24 years of living, which I'm incredibly thankful for, right? The one constant that I could always rely on was that there would be an NBA season, and I would go and I watch San Antonio, and Manu or Tim or Pop and Tony would still be there. And for how long is it? For 15 years. For 15 years, that's how it was. There was always something that I could look forward to, something that I could always enjoy. And so that's why that's why this is so hard, but it's also but I also take it in like it's funny. He's my favorite athlete. He just retired. Of course, I'm sad, but there's also a sense of accomplishment and happiness that I feel for him. And one, because like Tim Duncan, he's like, yes, he's a fabulous player, but he's an even better human being, And Tim Duncan was the same way. And this is probably why San Antonio is probably like my favorite team in general, or like why I'm so drawn to basketball, because this team culture has just it's just something like I feel like every person in the world should aspire or strive to emulate, right? Whether it's giving back to the community, whatever. But for me, it was always more about the modesty and the selflessness that the core players on the team would take, right? And especially in Manu's case, because he could have been a starter, he could have been like James Harden, Tracy McGrady, whatever, where he could have gone to a different team, led a team in the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe he could have led a team to a who knows? Well, I mean, we don't know about that. We've seen him be the #1 option on a team and led them to a gold medal against a U.S. Olympic team with Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson. So I think that's more than proof enough of like how actually skilled he was. But for me, the fact that he was willing to put that aside and come off the bench and play not average over 20 minutes a game over his entire career and still be able to put up 40 points and all this stuff and make the all-star team and still be considered a sixth starter and the best sixth man ever, to me it's just nothing short of like remarkable and awe-inspiring. And I'm truly proud to say that I'm a fan of him, not only as a player but as a person. For me, basketball fandom for me started in 2003. It was David Robinson's last year, and even though I had seen like the championship that they had got beforehand when Timmy won Finals MVP with D-Rob when they beat New York with Latrell Sprewell and I think Patrick Ewing was injured for that series, and Jeff Van Gundy was the coach, and I was 6 years old at the time, right? I remember all that stuff, and but I truly got into basketball in 2003 when San Antonio won that championship when I was in the 4th grade, and I don't know if it was fate or whatever, but there happened to be this player named Manu on there, and I mean, I'll admit it, sure, he became my favorite player at first because we shared the same name, and it was kind of cool that a unique name like mine wasn't really shared by other people. But as you get older, as you start to mature, you start to look past superficial reasons like that, and you just get to see like what kind of like player he actually was. And then from then on, as you get even older from there on, you get to appreciate him for like the person that he is. For me, and for me that was really like to me that's such like I'm not gonna say like I'm some fucking like veteran out here and saying I'm only 24 years old, but so much of my life has been dedicated to just San Antonio not even San Antonio basketball or Manu or Tim or whoever, just basketball in general. And it was because of that, man. So much of my time I spent like watching a game, reading up on the teams, reading up on players, trying to like search Twitter, like whatever it is. I've spent so much time around basketball, and it's all because of that man. And he himself, it's not only that he was the impetus. It's not only that he was the impetus that got me into like arguably my favorite fan type of Dragon Ball, like whatever, video games, like whatever it is, right? One of my favorite fandoms ever is the fact that he stayed there. He was a constant. He was a constant. There was always like Dragon Ball ended after 2003, and yes, different games came out and all this, but even that stopped for a while, right? Even that stopped after Raging Blast 1, and obviously Dragon Ball Super is back now, but we all know how that is. You know, a lot of my other fandoms, like they end, and of course I expected, you know, basketball to. I expect this to end at some point too. I expected like Manu and Tony and Timmy and Pop, all of them to retire at some point. I'm not a fool, but the thing is like basketball in itself is something that can always be played. I'm always going to be able to find a new team or a new player to latch onto. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a Spurs fan, and we're going to talk about that actually in a couple of minutes. But the thing was, he was the strongest. It's for me like, say they did Dragon Ball, and Goku didn't show up like in a Dragon Ball product for as long as Dragon Ball lived as a franchise forever. Or if they did the same thing with Gintama, right? The thing is like with those, that's anime and manga, and those end at some point. Those aren't permanent, you know. It's not like you can do it like every year. And especially for me, because my interest in that stuff has waned, right? Games, I would say, is kind of like that, because there's always like a game that I'm always going to be interested in. There's always a franchise. I feel like that, you know, with Yakuza having a new, you know, now that Kiryu, even though Kiryu went away, there's like a new cool protagonist coming out. So, you know, things go on. That's the point. But the thing is, like Manu, he was the guy. You know, he was that dude. You know, I always say Goku, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili. Like, as far as like people, like, it's those three, at least for me. And the fact that he's not playing anymore, that he announced his retirement today, leaves me hollow, leaves me empty. But there's also a sense of satisfaction and celebration for his career and for him as a human being. And really, even though his on the court uh, shenanigans were great, whether it was making ridiculous passes, and I always say he's the best passing two guard to ever play basketball, the best passing two guard. I can't think of a two guard that passes the basketball. Not even MJ, not even Kobe. Right? Even though those two are better shooting guards, better players than him, I don't think those two pass the basketball better than him. Like, they don't understand like space and angles as well as Manu. That's just me personally. But whether it was like making incredible passes or timely blocks on James Harden, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Garnett, Kevin Durant when he had the block of the year in 2010, whether it was what was it being the league's active most 3 points shooter in the playoffs before Steph and eventually Clay are going to take him over, and LeBron took him over. LeBron and Steph took him over this playoffs, this last upcoming playoffs. But whether it was like whatever it was, the dude could just like flat out hoop. He flat out hooped, and it was really how he carried himself off the court that really stuck with me too. Because and like I said, it's just amazing how someone that you've never met, someone you've never had a conversation with, someone who's not like you don't have that strong of a personal connection, or like a personal like an intimate personal like you've talked to them, or you've taken them out to dinner, or like you've had lunch with them or drank beer with them, like whatever the fuck it is. It's amazing like how someone you don't have like that strong a relationship with can rest themselves in your heart and teach you things on how to not only better yourself as a player but as a person. And that's what Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili did for me. That's what they did for me. How they carry themselves off the court, teaching me about humility and modesty and self-control and self-discipline and professionalism, like whatever it is, how to handle yourself in the media, like whatever it is, all that stuff, trying to be a good person, always making time for kids, like whatever it was. That's the thing that sticks with me as much as his play, and that's why like he's a personal like hero and an idol of mine. And the fact that he's not playing anymore, it's like I said. There's sad. There's a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind of emotions. I'm sad. I'm hollow. I'm empty. I'm happy and content for him. In some ways, it's a very appropriate ending after all the winning that he's done, for him to flame out in the first round. There's something poetic about that, just about how his career ended. But yeah, all that stuff. It's to me, it's just nothing more than like gratitude for like who he is, like as a player and as a person. So thank you, seriously, thank you, seriously, for real. Like it's such a big part of my life, and I also want to talk like about like now, like what I'm feeling at the same time. See, look, because if he's gone right now, I'm questioning my Spurs fandom because of this. Because now that, I mean, Pop is still there, RC is still there, but Tony's a Hornet now. Timmy and Manu are retired. Kawhi backstabbed us, even though I still have some sort of affection for him. But it's like, it's funny. Like, I'm still excited about DeMar in LA. I still support LA. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be a big DeMar fan also. But it's funny because now my favorite player who's still in the league right now is not a Spur. It's Dirk. Dirk is my favorite player right now that Manu's retired. Which, if you would have told me 10 years ago, I never would have said that. But it is. Dirk is now my favorite player in the league now that Manu's retired. And that's the other thing. When he announced his retirement on Twitter, just to see all the love he got. That's the thing I love about like players retiring. I just love seeing like his peers, the players and the coaches, giving him due respect and admiration for like what he's done. So when I saw like Kobe, D Wade, Dirk, LeBron, Chris Paul, Scottie Pippen, all these different like legends of the game, like just showing him like showing him love, I I felt vindicated as a fan. That made me feel great. I was really happy that that happened. Yeah, that to me that is always one of the highlights of like any great player confirming retirement. Like same thing, it was the same thing with Tim Duncan. Like Chris Paul's tweet on Tim Duncan when he was like, "Yo, you knew me since Wake Forest, and now you see me as like a grown ass man with a kid and all this." That man, that was great. You know, to me, that's all the stuff that that's the stuff that I like. As for my personal opinion on where Manu ranks all time, probably top 50. I would definitely say he's a top 10 shooting guard of all time. I've had this discussion before. Um, I'd probably say it goes MJ, Kobe, D Wade, Jerry West, Clyde, Drexler, Allen Iverson, Sidney Moncrief, and then from then on, 8, 9, or 10 you can put Manu, and 8 or 9 Manu, T Mac, and then 10 can be James Harden. And then obviously good or honorable mention to Ray Allen and Vince Carter and Reggie Miller, and you can even put George Gervin in there too in the top 10. So some other lesser known players like Mitch Richmond, for example. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely great players. To me, he's a top 10 shooting guard of all time. He's the best six man to ever play basketball. Um, Even though you can probably put Kevin McHale and Bill Walton in that company. He's the best passing two guard to ever play basketball. I don't know if he's the best international player to ever play basketball because that's probably Dirk, and Pau deserves some recognition for that too. I don't count Hakeem because I mean, even though Hakeem is technically from it's Nigeria, right? He's from an African country, I know that, but he went to a U.S. school before he got drafted to the league, so it's kind of like Joel Embiid. I mean, I don't know, who knows, but point is, I think he's definitely one of the 10 best shooting guards to ever play basketball. And in his when you try to like defend that, or when you try to explain like his career, he's the anomaly he's the anomaly when it comes to statistics, because usually when people say statistics, they determine that as like a benchmark for greatness in a player, which is perfectly fine, and it makes sense like why they would do that, right? But in Manu's case, he's the anomaly because for two reasons. One, he played under Pop, who micromanaged minutes, and two, he was a sixth man. And when you're a sixth man and you play under Pop, you're not going to have as many minutes to produce the stats that great players like Tim Duncan or LeBron or Kobe or MJ or Larry Bird. You're not going to be able to produce those stats if you don't play enough minutes. So, for instance, if I'm like, and obviously you have to be good too, but the thing is, like, people believe that because he was six man, like that's like his skill level, like that's what he's capable of because he's a six man because he didn't start, and that's not the case. He willingly chose that so that he can get as many rings as he could. So in that respect, skill level, very easily to see that he's one of the best 10 guards ever. And his peers are definitely aware of that, and they showed it in today's tweet, and I applaud them, and I respect them, and I admire them for that. Yeah, but I don't know. All I know is that I'm gonna watch his Hall of Fame speech in 4 years, and with great intent, great admiration, great nostalgia. Um, I don't know what else is there for me to say. Freaking I think he'll still be around training camp like Tim is. I would have loved. I think he's gonna he's gonna mentor DeMar a little bit. He's gonna help him grow as a player. I think DeMar is gonna have a really good season. I think DeMar he's reminiscent of Kawhi a little bit in that he kind of keeps to himself, and he's a good dude, and he's a gym rat. So I think those things are going to show in his game. I think he's going to become much better on defense under Pop. I think he's going to pick up some of Manu's tricks. I think Lonnie. I think the guards in general are really, because they're young and they're hungry, and because people are downing them, like they're going to come in with like that impetuous chip on their shoulder. I think they're going to learn from Manu, like things. I don't know if they can replicate what he does because it's very hard to replicate what Manu does. but I think they're gonna take things away from him, and I think he's gonna be around the team. I don't think he's gonna coach. I don't think he will coach, but um, yeah, you know. Um, oh, and now that so like I said, what I was talking about earlier with my Spurs fandom, I'm still a Spurs fan. They're still my favorite team, but evidently now that my favorite players are gone, um, my favorite team may change in the future. Um, I mean, I still have a lot of players that like Dirk is still out there, Steven Adams. I'm a Steph fan, Gordon Hayward, um, Kristaps Porzingis, LeBron, KD. So KD's a hometown hero. He's from my area, Maryland. So there's still players out there, and I'll probably determine like who my favorite teams are going to be going forward from there on. But still, right now, at the very least, it's still San Antonio because Pop is there, and I feel like I'm gonna. And I love LA. I like DJ. I like Rudy. I like Powell. Um, I like Patty when he's shooting threes well, and I just like the overall makeup of the team. I just like the people and the players there, and Pop and RC are still there. So as long as they're there and people are still there, I'm always still going to be a Spurs fan. But definitely, it took a big hit today. Nothing's the same after today because my favorite person is not there anymore. I mean, my two favorite people aren't there anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like who my favorite team. I'm Memphis sounds good because I'm a Mike Conley fan. I like Marcus Gasol. I like Kyle Anderson. Um, Boston is kind of cool, even though I'm not the big. I mean, I somewhat like Kyrie. Gordon Hayward's one of my favorite players. Jaylen Brown and what's his name? Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They seem like good players to become fans of, and I like Brad Stevens as a coach. So, which is strange because I didn't like the 2008 Boston, 2009, 2010 Boston teams except for KG and Rondo. So I don't know. It's strange like who I'm gonna root for, or who. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe like if San Antonio loses in the playoffs or whoever, maybe I just don't care like who wins the ring. I mean, honestly, like it doesn't seem like anyone can beat Golden State. Honestly, the big question is who's coming out of the East between Toronto and Boston, and maybe Philly to face Golden State in the finals. And but yeah, man. Thank you, Manu Ginobili, for everything. This is like seriously, I really don't have enough words to like encapsulate or describe like what that dude has meant like to my life overall. Even though I've never and it's strange. I never saw a game with him or Tim Duncan. I was never able to see a game with him or Tim Duncan. They were my favorite players ever, but I never saw a game with them, which is strange. But strangely, for some reason, even though it's hard for me to accept that, there's a part of me that just like willfully like takes it in stride, and maybe that's just because of like what they as athletes have taught me, or like how they've tried to shape my life. So yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, maybe I'm just sounding like an overdramatic buffoon over here, but seriously, thank you, seriously, it's been awesome, and I can't wait to see you accept that Hall of Fame speech. As for other videos I'm gonna do, Unshu Ishizuka, that video I'm gonna do tomorrow because I'm kind of tired and I want to do it not because it was Hiromi Suru as Bulma, but because the dude actually voiced other characters that I really like. So I'm gonna make a video on that. Universe Survival Arc. I've been thinking that the review and the analysis of that, I'm probably gonna split it into two different videos. So this is something, I guess this is kind of like something new. The reason I'm thinking about doing that is because it's just the sheer amount of information and the sheer amount of episodes that I feel like if I do it, it's not going to be. If I do it in one video, it'll be too long. So I feel like even though I know people like the 3 hour like rants and stuff that I did, maybe it's better for me to do like in smaller chunks so that people can like digest it like one at a time. That's not set in stone yet, but it is something that I am thinking about. God damn, my glasses like. Do you see how like my face like breaks off? That's so weird. But yeah, so those are coming out. Kiwami 2 comes out in an hour, so I'm definitely gonna be playing that and expect more videos for that too. But yeah, nothing more needs to be said, bro. Damn, dude. It's like a part of my identity is gone now that he's retired. It's crazy. It's kind of like where do I go from here? What's my like what do I do in my free time now? Like how do I spend my free time now? How do I attack basketball with the same enthusiasm as I once did? You know, those are the kinds of questions that are that are foreboding for me now. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, take care.